Ladies and gentlemen, um, name is Edson Ochoa, and just to let you know that we will be starting at 7 o'clock sharp for another episode of Down in the Valley for episode 6. However, in the meantime, I will be posting what was supposed to be episode 5.5 of Down in the Valley regarding the Barracudas and the phone call I had with Ray Silva from the RGV Barracudas. Um, I hope you all enjoy the conversation that we had, and we should be going 100% live at 7 o'clock p.m. Thank you and enjoy.
He is just one phenomenal scoring machine, and I feel like if the team does uh, a good job defensively stopping Taiyu, I think that there's a pretty good possibility of an upset.
Yeah, I mean, well, here's hoping that it actually happens. So which players are there still any players that are still involved with paperwork pending to be able to play, or have the complete roster been able to get that behind them?
Well, I think this, um, well, not just for tonight. I think for the rest of the season, we've got a complete roster now. Now that most of our players have their paperwork all set and settled. Unfortunately, it was situations that were out of our control. We've processed most of our paperwork ahead of time, but for some odd reason, it was not only our team, but it was also our some of the other teams across the league that were using imported Brazilian players, Argentinian players
Hmm.
to be part of the squads, you know, and and us, we were heavily relying on Mexican nationals to be part of our team to
Yes.
give us like a different identity, you know.
Hmm.
And these are players that live nearby here in Reynosa, Matamoros, Tamaulipas, you know, to give it that Mexican flavor, you know, to give
Yes.
it a little spice per se.
Yeah, it, and it kind of helps with this whole looking for the RGV identity, because it's one of the things that going back with Rio Grande Valley FC that they lack is the amount of local players that people can get back and get around in. So and so that's what really set this team apart, like you say, from others. Um, However, it's they've been close in a couple of games. I remember that game against this, Sonora. The last time they were over there, they went to extra times, but like as soon as extra time started, that's when they conceded, a goal against, and
Yeah, we could
ended the
yeah
game.
we had conceded a goal within 20 seconds of the overtime period,
Yes.
and I'll never forget that game because I was in my living room watching a little bit of that game, and when we made the like right in the middle of that comeback, I'm like, oh my, are we really gonna pull this one off?
Hmm.
And and I saw it until the game was like when the script completely changed when we took the lead 13-12,
Yes.
and uh, and then all of a sudden we had that turf monster tackle where one of our players just loses his balance and down he goes, and they have a 2-on-1 break opportunity, and they get the equalizer and
Hmm.
send the game into overtime.
Yes.
And then that same guy that scored the equalizer 20 seconds into overtime, he pops the game-winning goal, and that's your match.
Yeah.
And in another situation where we've had the game like, let's say, at a very close deficit with like plenty of time to do something about it.
Hmm.
Um, Ontario, it was the game against Ontario where when the team was completing a 3-game stretch in 5 days,
Yes.
and the game was 4-2 when unfortunately one of our players gets tangled up with one of their players, and they were just jockeying for position, and their feet get tied up, and our player took it like, hey, this guy tripped me up, I'm gonna go ahead and react this way, and because of it, uh, they had a man advantage, and unfortunately our player got a 1-game suspension out of that for reacting the way he did,
Hmm.
and those are just some of those little breaks where one would wish that we would have back and probably control the situation a little differently. And it's just little things like that that can change it, can make or break a game for you. And Coach Quiroz has done a phenomenal job trying to teach our young players um, to not to to not get tied into those type of mistakes.
Hmm.
To try to play out of it. You know, don't uh, try to attack the game, but be disciplined at the same time.
Yeah.
And it's just something that Coach Quiroz has done a pretty good job, but unfortunately, sometimes we just can't get out of our own way per se.
Yeah, but I mean, it's he's trying to show them, like my dad would say, like play with hot feet but cold with a cold head, and
Hmm.
sometimes I think that sometimes that's just the price with having such a young squad, in which they don't have the experience or, like you say, the discipline to keep a level head when especially in a sports as I don't want to say like rough, but like there's a lot of contact because it's such a reduced field, you know,
Mhm.
like indoor soccer, there's gonna be fouls, and there's just gonna be players with experience that are going to want to push your buttons, and especially if they see a young guy, they'll try to push the buttons as hard as they can, without making it obvious, to the ref, to try to make you lose your cool. And if you lose your cool, like even if you don't get the red or things like that, you're not gonna be concentrated on the game. You're gonna be concentrated on trying to get revenge against this player, and you stop focusing on what's at hand, on trying to score goals, on trying to defend, the ball, trying to keep the ball out of your net. You just want to go there and try to hit him and try to get him back. So you know it, it it's like I said, it's a process with the young squad. Um, Sadly, obviously, there are some people, in the valley that just don't have the patience, and honestly, including myself with the USL team, where you want to be competitive, but with Barracudas, there is more of a leniency just due to the fact with that uh, that year, that restructuring this new squad. Um, are there any plans of acquiring another player, or has the quote unquote transfer period in the MASL ended?
Well, basically, our transfer deadline ended January 15th.
Mm-hmm.
The only thing that can happen from here until season's end or until early February is our trade deadline.
Okay.
Um, that's probably the only way we can acquire players. I know there have been teams that have been acquiring for some of our players, but let's just say if our owner says, okay, Ray, we've gotten an offer for this player and this player, but in return they're wanting to give us this player. And then I kind of had to like give him my 2 cents on it, and I go, look, the guy has had a proven track record, but they're asking for too much from us.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where we kind of have to like play, have to decline everything. And the reason they were uh, searching for our players was because we were like one of like several teams that didn't have like 12 games played yet, and um, if a certain player had not played 12 games during the season, he would still be eligible for postseason play.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, our the owner took a lot of calls, but no, nobody offered us anything close to what we were looking for. Some of our players.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we know we weren't having a good season, but still, if we were going to get something of equal value, we wanted to make sure that we were getting quality and value back. So, to answer your question, no further signings at this point, unless another of our players gets their visa rejected or whatnot. But that's not our case for going forward.
Okay. Now, as far as attendance, have you seen a lot a tendency? Like, has it risen game after game? Hasn't gone down, or what have
It's
you
gone
seen?
up it's gone up a little bit thanks to the arrival of Vicente Matias Wolso. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
the guy's been nothing short of professional for us. The guy has provided a goal and 3 assists in his first 3 games as a member of the Barracudas,
Yes.
and I mean he's just your flat out professional, man. I mean the guy, you may see the guy from a distance. He may look a bit out of shape,
Mm-hmm.
but the guy has. I mean, the guy he wants to contribute,
Yes.
and Coach Quiroz has been nothing but grateful to the guy. He's just told him, look, just play your minute and a half shift, and get out. We'll replace you with a midfielder or defender or another forward, but don't don't stress yourself out. And and he's been very good about everything.
Hmm.
Uh, I mean, he's been. I mean, he's just been your true professional.
Yeah.
And that's and and we couldn't ask any more from the guy. I mean, the guy's been uh, to the T the best professional I've come across with.
And it's easy at this point of their career. They've already technically retired from 11 by 11. One would assume that a guy like him, he's just out here to get his next payday and not put in all their effort. But the guy, from what I heard when I was there at his presentation, from what you're telling me, is that you know Woso has put in his effort, on the pitch as well, uh, with the limitation, obviously, of trying to get back in shape after all these months, being inactive. But the guy wants to add something to this team. Obviously, the results aren't working out, but he's not giving up. He's going to continue to give it his all for this team. Try to teach these young players as much as he can, so that they can develop and hopefully continue building that chemistry. So that way we can end the season hopefully with a bang, and then just continue to build up on it for next season. That way we can bring in more favorable results, and hopefully be a lot more competitive against our rivals in our conference.
Yeah, that's just the thing with Bull. So I mean, the guy has been wanting to help to stay one. He's been like total. He's been a total professional
Hmm.
with all of the team. With all the team, it's just something that the results haven't gone the way the team has pretty much imagined. But I mean, hey, there's still some work to be done. Now, I mean, if we win tonight, it's great. We get to spoil Sonora's playoff plans a little bit,
Yes.
at least for one night, and hopefully going going forward the rest of the season, when Tacoma comes into town on Saturday night, they're also in the playoff push on the other side of the conference,
Yes.
and hopefully we get to deter their playoff plans. I mean, they made a couple of moves not too long ago before the trade deadline and the acquisition deadline, and thanks to those signings, they're like right in the middle of it. So if we can play spoiler, and if we and besides playing spoiler, get back into this race,
Yes.
I mean, hey, why not? We can have a go at it, and probably ruin a couple of teams or two's playoff plans.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, if anything, it's more of a morale boost at this point, for the young guys, and the whole playing spoiler thing, like you said, it's going to be a very interesting finish of the season. Um, and I really hope that that the fan base has the patience for this new era of the Barracudas, that, like they say, and I know it might be over said and things like that, but Rome was not built in a day. Um, there are some exceptions, you know, obviously, but for the most part, everything is a process. The These young guys, they have, we rely on young kids. Teams like Monterrey, the Flash, they tend to rely more on the experience and the names, to try to attract people. And yes, it does bring them results, but they constantly have to be changing their lineups, to try to make this team fresh and relevant as far as
Mhm.
the marketing wise. Where
Well, he,
I don't know, at least that's
well,
what I've seen.
here's the thing with Monterrey. I know their ownership because I got to work with that ownership when they were here,
In the fly. Hmm.
and so some of yes, the Flash, who I have a large amount of respect to.
Hmm.
They have a very very good structure. Coach Mariano Bolela, he's a first class person,
Yeah.
and he was able to recognize it when I saw him on December 29th. He goes, Ray, I know you guys are a young team, but you guys have something here. Don't let it go like the way we did.
Hmm.
Our and he even told me like outside in the locker room during pregame, he goes, look, I mean, stay stay positive, stay focused, and you guys will be onto something good here. I mean, they recognize it that hey, we're a young squad, but hey, they've got something going,
Yeah.
And it's just something that I mean, it makes us feel good, at the end that we're doing everything in the right direction, and
Hmm.
and the guy's been known to have good teams in wherever he's coached,
Yes.
and I mean, I know their age roster wise is like somewhere up there in the mid 30s.
Yes.
But hey, they are players that are getting it done and that have gotten it done in the past
Yeah.
before, you know.
And
And
you
it's
know,
just some.
it helps. It helps. They have. They've used legends mostly. I believe mostly from Rayados. They've had Guille Franco.
They
Right. They now
and
have. Chupete Suazo. You know.
Yeah, Chupeta Suazo was just like a 1 day thing, but you as a Tigre fan might recognize his name, Lucas Ayala.
Oh yeah, Luquita Ayala. Mm-hmm.
Yes, he is. He is still on the roster till this day, and he's another guy that's a total pro. I mean, he's a guy that's been committed to helping them out. I mean, they have the good thing about Monterrey's roster is that they've been able to scout the Mexican indoor soccer leagues pretty well,
Yeah.
and they've been able to get some of the younger better talent from that league to join their team for this season. And a good example of that is Carlos Popper Hernandez.
Mm-hmm.
I hope I've got his middle name right. He was the league leader in goals for Reynosa Búfalos in the Mexican indoor soccer, and he earned himself a nice little contract with Monterrey Flash, and he is one of the brighter younger rookies of this league for this season.
Yeah. Yeah. I
So
mean.
it just goes to a testament that if you have your scouting done, that you could pick up a few players, and even some of our players from the Barracudas have actually spent some time down there just to keep their game shape indoor wise,
Yes.
and it just goes to a testament that hey, sometimes playing in other countries can help your game instead of hurt you, you know.
Mhm. Yeah, and especially when they have a lot of more facilities. Like you say, I mean, Reynosa has their own,
Hmm.
and here in the valley, if anything, it's all pretty much the pickup leagues. Like I
Yeah.
mean, Golazo has their indoor, and then you also have some others that have
2004 as an amateur side. I mean,
yeah.
Every day is a reason to chase what you've been dreaming. For you, I strive. And every week is a season. The winter's got my knuckles bleeding, but I don't mind. Sometimes I think that I could feel it. It keeps my time. Every night when I'm dreaming, feels like I'm falling through the ceiling. No, I don't mind, no. Just falling apart. The king's horses and men can mend what is left of my broken heart. And now I finally realize it's what keeps me in line. No, I don't mind. No, I don't mind.
Hey guys, what's up? It's Kyle Murphy, and you're listening to Down in the Valley with Appeal.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another episode of Down in the Valley. We are now on episode 6 of Down in the Valley. Slow progress, but still, better than nothing, I suppose. Excuse me. All right. So basically today we're going to be talking about, let me just lower the volume. There we go. Let me know how the mic is doing. What is going on, Blues fan? Let me know if the microphone is too high or it's just right. I don't want to destroy any eardrums in the process of me being on episode 6. Cass, come on. Anyways, so it's been an interesting turn of events ever since the last time we talked about Toros on here. Excuse me for a minute. Sorry about that, guys. Blues fan. He says, spotted you at the practice, by the way. What's up with all these? Come on, people. Okay, so it's been an interesting turn of events, and yeah, you should have said hi. Did you say hi? Because I think I saw Alex, who he goes by Alexander Bell, on the YouTube chat. I saw him, but I don't know if I saw you, Blues fan. Just let me know if you did say hi to me. Just refresh my memory. I probably did, but you didn't say like that you were a Blues fan. I hope if you saw Justin, you gave him gave him crack. There it is. Gave him crack. There it is again. Gave him crap for being an Eagles fan. All right. So like I was saying, it's been an interesting turn of events. I was going the opposite, taking my sister to 5, so it's all right, man. Hopefully you enjoyed helping practice just like I did. I will be talking a little bit from what I saw in the later parts of this episode. But like I was saying, it's been a pretty interesting couple of days since we last saw each other and talked about RGVFC here on Down in the Valley. Like I said last week, I was supposed to have episode 5.5, which was what you could hear before the game. Not the game, but this episode started officially at 7. It was the phone interview I had with Ray Silva regarding the Barracudas. But as you probably saw, for those of you who tried to be on the live stream last week, as I was having, a lot of problems with when it came to the audio. For some reason, okay, yeah, that's true, because we were in the media section. So, like I said, my mixer was giving me problems, and so this week I actually have to use something completely different, because Sean and Justin borrowed my other mixer, the medium one, and because they're going to be being tech support for the guys at KTXF. They're going to be broadcasting, I think the game already started, but they're going to be broadcasting the Houston SaberCats game. So they use my middle mixer, and then the power supply for my small mixer fried out like 2 weeks ago. So I'm not using a mixer at all. I'm actually using something I originally bought, which was this little power, phantom power, little square. So I guess it'll have to make do for this episode. But yeah, so one of the news that came out for RGVFC the last week was that Houston Dynamo announced that 10 players were signed and were added to the RGVFC roster for 2018. Granted, 10 is still not enough to field obviously an 11-team squad, especially since 2 of those players that were signed are goalkeepers. But there are some good news. We did re-sign 5 players from the previous roster. From last year, we re-signed Kai Green, the defender. We also re-signed RGV native from Far Texas, Omar Ontiveros, who's also a defender. We also re-signed Todd Wharton, Nicolas Perea, and of course Francisco Pungo. Um, so Kai Green, obviously, it was it was re-signed due to the fact that Gerson Echeverry worked with him or coached him actually while he was at Seton Hall. He's very familiar with Kai Green. Um, he mentions that I'm trying to recall correctly what Gerson Echeverry said in his press conference because the press actually asked him about that, about how well do you know Kai Green. But he mentions that I believe that Gerson came in to the job and they talked to him about Kai Green. They said that Kai Green was one of those who had an awesome work ethic. He was one of the first ones to go in practice, the last ones to go to leave, kind of guy. So it was pretty interesting. Now it's gonna be that Kai Green is gonna show him like, all right, what has been going on with the Toros, how the fandom is, not the fandom, but yeah, you know what I mean. So it's gonna be very interesting. Um, Kai Green has been since the beginning. He's been with RGVFC since 2016 when Coach Cabrera was still on there. And so, innovation at work. Well, you got to make do somehow. Um, he was actually also called up twice last year by the Dynamo to play in the U.S. Open Cup. So, like I said, he's been here since 2016. He's played 50 games with the Toros and has accumulated 2 goals and 1 assist. One of the goals came last year. I believe it was to tie at the last minute. I believe it was against Phoenix Rising, if I'm not mistaken. It was at the very last minute he scored the game tying. It would have been better if I could say game winning, but it wasn't game winning. It was just game tying, and it was at home. So, but then again, I mean, it's how it was last year. We also, like I said, we re-signed Omar Ontiveros, a 22-year-old FAR native. Will be back for his second season. He was actually signed, I think, mid-season, but they found him through the open tryouts that they usually have in January. De hecho, last weekend they had their open tryout for 2018. And he's a pretty interesting individual. He's only played for 172 minutes for 3 games, but I saw a lot of potential in the lad. He used to play for Santos Laguna under 20s in Mexico, and is also for, forgive me because I know I'm going to screw this up, Club Sportif Grevenmacher in Luxembourg. So he has a little bit of European experience. Obviously, it's not like he went to England or Spain, but still, it's interesting for a young kid, to have gone for a little bit to Europe and play over there. We also signed Todd Warden. He is also coming back for his 3rd season with RGV. Last season he played in 30 games, started in 24. His stats were he achieved a 76.3 tackle rate and an 87.8 pass success rate. He is a midfielder after all. He also scored a game-winning goal against Swope Park Rangers, and he earned also, I believe it was nomination for Goal of the Week. And that week he also was part of the USL Team of the Week. So he's one of the guys that I knew we had to have. No ifs, ands, or buts for 2018. We had to sign him because he looked really good in the midfield, even though, in general, the team was a dumpster fire. So, but he was, you can say, like, the diamond in the trash, or the diamond in the coal. I don't know what the phrase is, but it's good to have him back for 2018. We also re-signed Nicolas Perea. He's a 25-year-old Colombian. He played for 23 minutes last season in 3 games. So we didn't really see a lot from Nicolas Perea. But when he was in Syracuse, he played in 76 games with 73 starts. He scored 10 goals and recorded 3 assists. And the last guy that we re-signed was Francisco Pungo. The 19-year-old Colombian will return for his second season. He played 379 minutes in 13 games last season. And he's on loan from Club Deportivo Escuela de Fútbol Carlos Sarmiento Lora. The thing about Francisco Pungo is hopefully they're able to kind of develop him. I mean, he's fast, he's agile, and he's one of those players that'll drive defenders crazy. But he has to learn that he can't keep possession of the ball too long because they're either going to foul him, and he does, have a little bit of a history of, being a little injury prone. So he's going to have to be careful with that for 2018. There it is, Victor. Thank you. Diamond in the rough. So, I mean, it's interesting. It's other than Kai Green and Todd Warden, it's really players that you didn't really see much action out of them. So it'll be interesting to find out if there's going to be any more players from last season's roster that will be re-signed, because Coach Echeverry in his press conference, he did state that they were looking for they were actually in negotiations during this time with other players from the 2017 roster that they really wanted for them to come back for 2018. So hopefully we can see. I really want to see Kyle Murphy back for 2018. But from what I've heard, it's not really looking good for him. I wish I knew if he's coming back. I mean, the guy was another one of those players that Anna shined even through all of the bad. He played in the wing. He played as a striker. Wherever they put him in. Wherever Junior Gonzalez put him in, he tried to play his best and make do with what he had. He scored a couple of goals. Let me tell you exactly how many goals Kyle Murphy scored last season. All right, come on. All right, here we go. All right, so Kyle Murphy in 2017, he played 31 games. He played for 1,780 minutes with 19 starts, and he scored 7 goals. He scored 7 goals with total shots of 44, shots on target 21, only 7 goals scored. Conversion rate of 16%. He scored 6 of those goals were with his right foot. And one with his head. Let me see. I want to see if there's the team stats. Here it is. There should be something that says if he was the leading scorer. I think he was. He was the leading scorer for the Toros, because they scored 37. 7 of those were by Kyle Murphy. Let's check it out. Okay. Yes, yeah. In fact, Kyle Murphy was was the stat leader for goals scored for RGVFC last season. And second was Joseph Holland, who we know he's not going to come back due to the fact that with the Dynamo he is he would take up an international spot. So he's probably going to be either moving back to England, or he's probably going to look somewhere else in the USA. But I think more likely he's going back to England. He just hasn't been happy here. If you follow him on Twitter, you'll understand what I'm trying to mean. And I just don't want to get too deep into that in this podcast because this is a soccer podcast, not a political podcast. But oh, I think I said too much. Okay, and it tied also for second place was Jose Escalante with 4, as well as Ruben Luna and Eric Bird. They both have 4 goals last season. And then in third and sixth, actually, you would have Mames, who in 4 appearances scored 3 goals. And other than that, you have TJ Kastner with 3, Jorginho James with 2, Ivan Magales with 2, and Camilo Monroy with 1 in 8 appearances. So we really suffered in the attack. I mean, 7 goals doesn't sound much for the amount of games that he appeared in, 31. But attack-wise, we weren't really that great, and that is an understatement. Let's see. So we go ahead and give a shout out to Victor Araiza. I know Rafael Hernandez was here a while back, and Blues fan. Thank you for tuning in. If you can, guys can go ahead and down there, give me a like, share it with your friends. It really helps out a lot. Trying to grow this specific podcast. And I'm sorry that I'm kind of really up close in your face in this podcast, but like I said, a couple of things I had to lend them to Sean and Justin so they could use it for the Houston SaberCats transmission on KTXF. So kind of have to kind of using a stand. So it's something that I'm not used to either. But like I said, we're gonna have to make do with that. Let me see what else. So out of these, actually none of them will be back. Haven't heard anything from Jorginho. That's another one of the guys that I wish we could have back. We know Eric Bird, he's moved. He came to the Dynamo. TJ Kastner, we haven't heard anything about him either. So I would say out of all the 2017 roster that have not been re-signed or have not been confirmed that they're not coming back, like Escalante, I would really like to see TJ Murphy and Jorginho James back for 2018. I feel that they would be very beneficial to Gerson Echeverri for this coming season. Well, speaking of Gerson Echeverri, he had a press conference last Friday, I believe. Yeah, it was last Friday. And one of the things he mentioned, and I kind of tweeted about that last week from the press conference that they had on Facebook Live on RGVFC's Facebook page. So if you guys have any opportunity, go ahead and check it out. There were a couple of things that not only that Gerson Echeverri mentioned, but also at the end that President Bert Garcia also mentioned that are pretty interesting that I will be talking about later on after this. So they asked Coach Echeverri what kind of play style he was looking for, and he says he wanted a team that was entertaining to watch, that had an attacking mindset, but not something that was all-out attack. He wanted an attacking team, but he doesn't want a team that just because they're attacking, they completely ignore, the defensive aspect of the game. They also asked, I know one of the reporters in Spanish, they asked him if he agreed with Pep Guardiola's philosophy that winning 4-3 was better than winning 1-0. And, he said, as a fan of the sport and as a next forward, I used to play forward, when I was a player. He says, it's awesome. It's beautiful. It's a beautiful game, winning 6-4. But as a coach, it's just a sign that your tactics were messed up somewhere along the line. That's kind of what he said during that portion of the press conference. He also mentioned that one of the things he says, like, hey, we want to have a team that is very entertaining for the fans to want to come and watch, because at the end of the day, they're paying money to see us. They're paying money to see us win. We want a team that will win almost all of the games, if not all of the games, at home, and try to see if we can get a win or a tie, you know, out in the road. And then one of the things that really captivated me while I was listening to this is that they asked him, what is the goal for RGVFC? And he says, obviously, we need to develop talent for the Dynamo, but our main focus should always be going into the season from day one, from preseason, going in thinking we have to win the championship, we have to be champions of the USL, and it's a breath of fresh air, at least for me, who has been saying it for God knows how long, ever since I still had Carga Naranja, that just because your way of running this team is to develop players that will be future Houston Dynamo elements, that doesn't mean you should not go at trying to win the championship, trying to win the USL. Because at the end of the day, if you win the USL, you're showing that your RGV squad has enough talent to maybe even make it over there, with the Dynamo. What's the point? Yes, develop. You're gonna at a young age, there's still stuff to develop, but if you win, that just shows that you're better than all the rest in the USL. And what better for the Dynamo? What better for Matt Jordan? What better for Coach Cabrera? What better for the Houston fans to say, hey, you know what? We're getting players that have won the USL. So right now, here in Houston, nobody gives a crap about the Toros. And it's the same, and obviously, we are technically a minor league team. So Justin was telling me, honestly, nobody really cares about minor league teams. The Astro fans don't really care about the Corpus Christi Hooks. I understand that. But during the week, I called Glenn Davis's show, Soccer Matters. It was on Wednesday night, and I called him. We're talking about the whole Cubo Torres transfer, and he tells me, now that Cubo Torres is gone, where do you think the money that we got from his transfer, which is rumored to be $1.9 million? Yes, Blues fan. Yeah, Swope Park Rangers is the affiliate of Sporting Kansas City. Victor says, what can the Dynamo expect out of Eric Bird, and what do you think of his haircut? All right, let me answer that first. Okay, so what can the Dynamo expect of Eric Bird? See, if you play him as an attacking midfielder, he will do good. When you place him as a defensive midfielder, that's where I feel that he gets lost. Exactly, Blues fan. Exactly. That's what I've been saying. If Red Bulls 2, which is supposed to be the same thing as Toros, in fact, Red Bulls 2 is, the name says it. It's an MLS 2 team. What's the excuse? What's the excuse of not building a competitive team for the USL? What's the excuse to not put in a team that'll bring in fans to the stadium? What's the excuse of not building a roster that will justify the amount of money that what's his name? Alonso Cantu is investing in this team. They have to look at that as well. Without Alonso Cantu's money, they would still be trying to find alliances with Charleston Battery or the Pittsburgh Riverhounds, you name it. We have a really good market, soccer market, we have all these fans that are really soccer oriented. You just have to make them divert a little bit from the Mexican League, from the Premier League, in order to support your local team. I've said it before. How are you going to support, and it sucks saying it, but we tend to be very bandwagonish. How are you going to support a losing team? You got to make it competitive. I'm not telling you we have to win the championship every year. No. And at least make a decent run into the playoffs. Make it where San Antonio went last year, or maybe even a little bit further. Obviously, there are some other USL teams, especially in the Eastern Conference, that are much stronger than us, that we could ever be. But don't just go into the season. Oh yeah, don't expect a championship out of us because we're just here to develop players for the Dynamo. The fans at RGV don't give a damn. Okay? We want a competitive team. We want, and Edson Ochoa said this, we want a team that the RGV could be proud of. Because they're not representing, and it's funny because I said all these things in a rant I had last time after Bert Garcia had his interview with the Monitor. A lot of the things that Edson Ochoa said in that press conference were exact same things that I said in that rant. So I'm just glad that we finally have a coach that is going to look out for not only the Dynamo's interest, not only for Coach Cabrera's interest, but he's going to look out for the interest of the RGB fans. And hopefully that means kicking some San Antonio ass. Stud Muffin asks, did we get a good deal for Cubo Torres? The Dynamo bought Cubo Torres. Victor, if you can tell me exactly if I'm correct or not, but I think they've mentioned that we bought him for like between $5 to $7 million when we bought him from Chivas. And we sold him for a rumored $1.9 million to Pumas. So obviously, we have we lost money out of this transaction. But what this was for is like, you know what? We don't want you here. Or maybe the Dynamo did want him. I don't know. But I think the best thing that we got out of the Kubo deal wasn't really the transfer fee, but more than anything, the fact that we opened up a DP slot, so we're not paying. We also saving what we'd be paying him for when it comes to salary. So all of those things are really important when it comes to trying to find someone to bolster up the Dynamo roster. Let me see if I can find it. Let me see if I can find that information. Stud Muffin asked how much time he had left on this contract. Because I know he signed for 3 years with Pumas. Eric Torres. Let me see. Victor, if you're still here, go ahead and tell me what was his contract originally for. What was the length of his contract originally for? But I think it was for 3 years, if I'm not mistaken. I think the one who would know more about this is Sean. But like I said, he's not here right now. So I'll get back to you on that on Twitter. So go ahead and follow me at okay. So yeah, thank you, Victor. So he had 2 years left, and he bought for reported 7 million. So we lost almost 5 million. If the rumors are correct, we lost 5 million out of this deal. But I think in the long run, it really benefits us because of the fact that we don't have a DP slot on him anymore. The fact that he scored the similar amount of goals as Mauro Manotas, who was not a DP, who was being paid much less than Cubo Torres. You know, you might as well let him go. Let him be closer to his family. Let him try to get some redemption in Liga MX if he can. The whole reason he was on fire in the first half of the season before the Gold Cup, because he wanted to be called to the Mexican national soccer team for the Gold Cup. Once he got that, he didn't care about Houston for the most part. He didn't play as well as he did before. Granted, the whole team had some slumps here and there, but and I'm also from things that would have been said, he seemed to be very immature in some aspects. I know Webb was posting some things on Twitter, some things that he didn't agree with Cubo Torres when it came to his work ethic. AEG was still majority owner when Cubo was purchased. Brenner became majority owner a year later. Thank you, Victor. And then you also had that incident. Hard to tell if current ownership really lost anything out of the deal. I think more that they gained, like I said, now having that DP slot that they can use on someone that can probably bring better results to the Dynamo. Where was I? Totally lost track. So yeah, I mean, that's the whole Kubo thing. Oh, the incident where he missed his flight to Vancouver. So he missed his flight. There was one time that we flew over. According to someone close to him, he didn't feel he would get much playing time this season. SMH, and not for you, Victor, for Kubo, because in Pumas he's going to be bench riding, because you have Nico Castillo, who's on fire right now and has been on fire for I think the last 2 seasons with Pumas, so it's going to be hard for him to try to take away that spot away from Nicolas Castillo. So he missed 2 flights. And right now, Nico Castillo, I believe he's second behind Giannini Tavares when it comes to the goal scorers in the Liga MX right now. So it's going to be very difficult. If anything, he's probably just going to get some minutes in the Copa MX, and that's about it. So I don't see where he gets, if that is true, Victor. I just think it's like you say, he just didn't want to be here. Just wanted to come up with any random excuse to leave. Let him go. I mean, que le vaya bien. O sea, hope he does well in the Liga MX, but just trying to take away his salary when you don't want to be here. It's kind of like Alex. Okay, you wanted to leave, you wanted to get paid more, fine. We already have Tomas. With Cuba, we have Manotas. Now we have also Max Steves behind him. He's not really dispensable. I don't think any player is indispensable. I mean, if you don't want to be here, kind of like Carly Lloyd as well. We're not going to force you to be here. Obviously, we know you have contracts or things like that. But if you're going to be affecting my players with your lack of work ethic just because you don't feel comfortable or you don't want to be here, I'll help you move to somewhere where you will want to be there. But don't affect my other players. That's the way I see it. From what Cabrera said this week, yeah, he hinted he did not want to be here. So, I think I hit my daily rant, limit, but I think I'm probably going to break a record today. So that's pretty much it on the whole Cubo Torres aspect. He's not going to get minutes with Pumas. The fans hate him. They didn't want him there. They think he's a tronco. They think he sucks. He's going to have to work extra hard in order to try to get what he wants. Try to be called to the national team for starters, taking away Nico Castillo's spot, which is close to impossible unless Castillo gets injured. Que le vaya bien. O sea, thank you for everything that you did, the good things that you actually did do. Josh, if you're watching this live, or if you're seeing this after, yeah, I get the point. I get the point that he was trying to make. That he did bring some good things. He helped us keep El Batallón. But in the end, the negatives outweigh the positives with Kubo. So I hope that's the last thing I can talk about Kubo Torres. So says, by the way, Jerson was the Dynamo practice all week till yesterday. Don't know if you mentioned that. I was actually wondering why Edson Ochoa was not in practice. I was actually looking forward to at least kind of get a couple of notes from him. Get some ask him a couple of questions, but I guess I'll have to wait till next week when I'm down in RGV and try to see what I can ask him and get a little bit an interview with him. Because I know he said he was going to be here for the beginning of practice, and then he has to go down because Toro's off season or preseason is going to have to start as well. Which, speaking of that, excuse me, I knocked over the mic. Speaking of that, they're going to have to work. They're going to have to announce something on Monday, because 10 players obviously is not enough. Next Saturday, you have a game against the Dynamo, a friendly game. And like I said, you have two. In fact, I haven't even gotten to the new players that we signed. But we have 2 goalkeepers, and then obviously you have 7, 8 outfielders. So we need more players, which will probably come. A couple of them will come from some Dynamo players that will be coming down that are going to be cut from the final list, because I believe it's 22, the player limit for MLS. So I'm guessing the rest of them will be sent down to RGV, as well as some other players that will be re-signed from the 2017 roster. But it has to happen now, because they need to have this next week that's going to happen Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. They need that to kind of get started on building that chemistry between them. Because if you want to start mid-February, and things like that, it's going to be very difficult. You're going to have to be catching up. You're going to be playing on March 13th, I believe. March 16th, actually. You're going to be playing against St. Louis. So you have about 2 months. Actually, like a month and a half. Yeah, you have like a month and a half before your home season opener. So hopefully on Monday we get some news regarding some more players. And with that, let's go ahead and talk about the 5 players that we did sign for the Toros. So we have Kyle Adams, who is a defender. He represented New Zealand in the under 17 and under 20 levels, and he played in college for San Diego State University. With the Aztecs, he earned United Soccer Coach's All-Far West Region honors 3 times. You also have Nico Corti. He's a native of Westlake, Virginia, California. With Stanford, he saw action in 33 games, 23 starts. Last season he made 73 saves, goals per game average of only .39, since he only conceded 9 goals in all of last season. So kid's got potential. In fact, he was one of the trialists this whole week with the Dynamo. Um, with the Dynamo, the trialists were Nico Corti. Damn, Sean has the list. It was Nico Corti, Justin Bilyeu, and what was the other one from RGV that was up there? That was a trialist. I know it was Bilyeu and Nico Corti. I wish I had the list with me right now. Actually, and then the third player we signed was Connor Donovan, who's a defender. He is a former U.S. Youth International. He joined Orlando City on a Generation Adidas contract in 2015. Last year, he saw action in 20 games with 15 starts with Orlando City B. He recorded 83 tackles, winning 75% of those. We also have a young guy from Tijuana. Well, he played for Xolos de Tijuana, but he's actually from California. We have Jesus Enriquez, El Pichichi. He spent last season with Club Tijuana for playing for Xolos B. He was called to the first team for one game in the 2016 Copa MX. He only went to the bench against Coras de Tepic. So it seems like this kid is one for the future, one for actual development, rather than a starter. At least that's what I see. So hopefully, Gerson Echeverri will be able to kind of mold him into the attack, the style that he wants the Toros to play. Will be very interesting to see how he develops this season with the Toros. Then you also have Matt Sanchez. He's a Puerto Rican. With Loyola University, he posted 12 shutouts and 195 saves in 48 games. He's also the starting goalkeeper for Puerto Rico's national team. He participated with them in the Under-20 World Cup as well as some World Cup qualifiers. So we actually have a couple of guys with experience. Connor Donovan with Orlando City B. I believe he was also part of the first team as well. And you also have, Matt Sanchez, who has some international caps on his record. Okay, so Stud Muffin asked for ages for all these guys. So Matt Sanchez is actually Matt Sanchez was born in '94, so he is 23 right now. We also have Connor Donovan. Right now, he's actually, no, that's the actor. Seems legit. He's actually 22. So, Matt Sanchez is 23, Connor Donovan is 22. Jesus Enriquez, the Xolos kid, is El Pichichi. I'm trying to find. I could have sort of saw it. No, this is somebody else. But he's young. I think he's like 18 or 19. This was in. And yeah, honestly, thank you for asking these questions. Some people might want to know this stuff. He's 20. Okay, so he's 20. So Jesus Enriquez is 20, Matt Sanchez 23, Connor Donovan 22, and you have Kyle Adams. Kyle Adams is Kyle Adams. Where are you? Man, it's pretty difficult. But I think he's around that age as well. A lot of times. Transfer market. Oh, yeah, okay. He does not have that information available in transfer market. Well, anyways, but I think he's like 23. as well. And then the last one that we haven't talked about is Nico Corti. Like I said, he was trialing over there. And he was a redshirt senior. He majored in political science. Not that anybody really knows. He was actually born in Brussels, Belgium. And he owns dual citizenship for France and for the United States. So that's really interesting. Nico Corti is age 22. So yeah, those are the ages. They're pretty young. You know, I think the oldest is pretty much Matt Sanchez at 23. So they have a lot of future with them. So don't worry about that. Like I said, the youngest is Jesus Enriquez with 20. So pretty interesting lineup, but it's still not enough to field the roster plus the bench. So the Dynamo really need to get to work on that. Hopefully we'll have some good news on Monday. And if not, you'll probably see me ranting on Wednesday. Which, by the way, on Wednesday for next episode of Down in the Valley, I'm probably going to be giving out tickets, a pair of tickets to the game against the Dynamo. So be sure to tune in next week and see how you can win those tickets for RGVFC versus Dynamo at HB Park on Saturday at 6 p.m. If you're from Houston and you're able to make it, man, you're always welcome in the Valley, man. So, all right. So what time is it? I'm only gonna be going for 15 more minutes since I pretty much said what I really wanted to say. Right now I'm just gonna be go ahead and closing off this show with some news that have been going around in the USL. There have been some important news besides the fact that the Boston Breakers are folding, which is really sad. But that is with the NWSL, which is still sad anyway. Seeing a team fold like that through bankruptcy. Once again, thank you Stud Muffin, thank you Blues Fan, and thank you Victor Araiza for participating in tonight's chat. Really nice to see people from the Valley, or not from Houston, I'm sorry, paying attention to what's going down in the Valley. There it is. I know right now as well, if there is some people that are watching from the Valley, what's going on right now, we have the Stampede is actually having their meeting for next season. So if you're interested in going, go ahead and contact Johnny Reese at South Texas Riot. I can't even speak now. South Texas Riot. He is the Stampede president, and if you need any more information on how to be a member of the Stampede supporters group, you just go ahead and tweet him, or you can go ahead and tweet me as well, and I'll go ahead and get in contact with him, for you if you have any questions regarding what they do. How it all works, I'll be more than happy to ask you some questions since I was a part of them for 2016, for the end of 2016 and the beginning of 2017 before I moved here. So if you're interested in, being loud, drinking beer, and supporting the Toros, just go ahead and give them a shout out, give them a shout on Twitter, and we'll try to inform you as best we can so you can hopefully join the supporters group. So Stud Muffin asks, what's the news on the Austin USL team? Last I heard, the ownership group for the Austin USL team placed the project on hold. So because of the whole Columbus Crew trying to move to the USL. I mean, if anything, see the last. Let me see. Past month. So Memphis joins for 2019. This is for last month, and there has been nothing regarding from today. Actually, from November to today. But like I said, there's something really interesting in this, but this was from since December. This is from December 14th. As the Austin City Council puts off a discussion regarding Major League Soccer, a scenario could unfold that leaves Austin with no professional soccer club in 2019. Circuit of the Americas chairman Bobby Epstein, who announced in August that he was launching a USL franchise in 2019, said his project is not viable if an MLS team comes to Austin. Obviously, you know that Columbus Crew SC ownership is exploring a move to Austin. We believe that the Crew are coming to Austin and look forward to them bringing pro soccer to our city. Logically, we stopped work on building a facility or hiring staff upon their announcement. If their plans change, we would be happy to re-energize our efforts, but at this stage, we are nearly too late for 2019. Thanks, Precourt. Hashtag thanks, Precourt. And let's make it viral. Ridiculous. There was a more concrete plan for the Austin USL franchise, which was all ruined just because Precourt had the tantrum. I think that's the best way to call it, a tantrum by Precourt of trying to bring Columbus to Austin, Texas. Now they ruined this franchise for 2019. If in the end the Columbus move fails, now they're probably gonna have to wait till 2020 or 2021 for Austin to get a USL franchise. And maybe the problem might end up being that they're gonna have to go into D3, USL D3, not USL D2. Now there's even talks that Precourt is talking to people in Columbus. He's listening to people that want for Columbus to stay. Hazme chingado favor, güey. And you know what's the weird thing about it all is because that piece of news that, oh, now he's trying to find a way to make Columbus stay in Columbus, comes out after the news that there's problems in the location of where they would the city would build the stadium in Austin. That the city, I think the city said no to the location, the proposed location they wanted to do it. So that pretty much almost kills the deal. And now he's like, oh yeah, we're talking to see if we can stay in Columbus. I don't even know what to believe anymore because, yes, like I want to feel happy. He's like, oh, you know what? I think he changed his mind. Now the team's staying in Columbus. But what if this is all just a move to try to pressure the Austin City Council to come up with a plan to say, you know what? Okay, we'll let you build the stadium here. Maybe not in this location, but over there. And boom, Columbus Crew moves to Austin, and now Columbus will be left with no team. One of the founding members of MLS. Stud, I don't really believe. I want to believe that the Crew is not going to move, but I just don't know anymore. It's all he said, he said, she said. It's all going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And one day they tell you like, oh, they're staying. No, now they're saying now they're actually going to be moving. And no, actually this thing failed, so now we're going to be staying. Like, make up your minds. Now you messed up a third party with the USL franchise board. And who knows if they're going to be able now to make this up or get back on track. And yes, Stud Muffin, they were trying to build a stadium with no parking lot. They were trying to make them walk 20 minutes from the nearest parking lot to the stadium. It's ridiculous. Has that guy not been in Austin? Has that guy not been in Texas? How hot it gets in the summer? You want people dying of heat stroke? So sometimes I feel there's people that have more money than brains. I hope that this thing fails on pre-court and somebody else ends up buying the Columbus and making it stay in Columbus, and he gets tied and he gets stuck, with nothing. Como dicen el dicho en español, que se queda como el perro de las dos tortas, al final se queda con nada. Just for karma. It's ridiculous. I mean, like Justin said, I think it was him. Just like Justin said, I wouldn't mind an MLS team in Columbus, just not the Crew. I mean, if they really wanted a franchise, they should have gone the old-fashioned way. They should have gone with the whole, we're going to have to buy an expansion. Not this. I mean, that's also unfair for all the other teams that have paid I don't know how much money for an expansion allocation. They paid millions for it. And yet this guy, he bought this team for, I think like 15 million, which is much less than the franchise fee for the USL, not for the MLS, I mean. And he's going to be getting his team moved to Austin just like that. You already have San Antonio pissed off. You have Sacramento pissed off. Cincinnati pissed off. Nashville as well. Miami as well, which is, I think they've also announced that the Miami project, David Beckham's Miami project, is also underway. But I'll probably leave that for the next episode of Appeal, which would be next Tuesday at 7 p.m. So be sure to tune in there. But this was all just so wrong in many levels. And just the silence of the MLS, of Don Garber and all these people, to these injustice to the fans of Columbus. The fact that they tried so hard to hush the Save the Crew movement, even in the Super Draft. There was actually, there's reports, so during the Super Draft, when they were announcing Joao Moutinho's move to LAFC, there was actually a bunch of people out there that were yelling, "Save the Crew, save the Crew." And you could actually hear them. You could actually hear them through the broadcast. You could hear them loud and clear saying, "Save the Crew." There's reports that they actually sent out a couple guards trying to get them out. But I believe at the end, I think Don Garber told them they could stay and protest. Like I said, that is all unofficial. That was all. That's what was said on Twitter and on Facebook. But I mean, all these people know that soccer fans are displeased with this movement. But we already know the track record of both U.S. Soccer Federation. Yeah, there were the Sons of Ben. Yeah, stud. There were the Sons of Ben that were doing this protest for Save the Crew. But we know the track record of both USSF and MLS, where they rarely give a damn about what the fans think, and they'll do what their sponsors think. They'll go where the money is. Así para acabarla. So this is why the Federation, the U.S. Soccer Federation, is where it's at right now. Because all they care about is the money. The money for sponsors, the money from ratings, the money from TV deals, all these deals. And where is the sport? Where does the sport fall on this? We lost Jonathan Gonzalez. He's not going to be playing for Mexico. I mean, I support the Mexican national team as well, which I'm happy for. I'm happy that we have Jonathan Gonzalez there to try to bolster up the midfield. But for U.S. soccer, It's ridiculous how they let him go because we had him in the first place. He wanted to play for the United States. They're like, oh no, yeah, we've been talking to him. We've gone to his house a couple of times. Yeah, we've talked to him, trying to convince him to come to the U.S. national team that we are going to be calling him. BS. Hercules Gomez did a documentary where he found out that was an absolute lie. Nobody went to go talk to Jonathan. If anything, I think they said that it was Tab Ramos who initially had contacted him, and that was it. So they didn't really care about Jonathan Gonzalez. They can say all they want, but in the actions, they did not care for him. And another sad news in U.S. soccer. So we know that the Rochester Rhinos are not going to be participating in 2018 in the 2018 season in the USL. I think they went bankrupt as well. So they're not going to be fielding a team for this season. They're probably thinking of trying to gain enough money to try to run operations for next season. Well, I think yesterday there was actually some news that their home stadium, Capelli Sports Stadium, will be hosting 4 USL matches in 2018. None of them obviously will be the Rochester Rhinos. It'll be Toronto FC 2 that will be playing there in all 4 games. They will see the Pittsburgh Riverhounds on May 5th, Indy 11 on June 16th, Nashville SC on July 28th, and Bethlehem Steel FC on August 16th. Toronto FC 2 to Rochester confirmed. #. And yet, no. Okay. And yet, 2 days before, this news came out in the region that the city of Rochester has ordered the Rhinos to vacate Capelli Sports Stadium. The City of Rochester Communications Director James Smith confirmed the letter to News 10 NBC late Tuesday night. Smith confirmed the letter, dated January 19, states that the decision by David and Wendy Workin to not field the team in the USL in the upcoming 2018 season leaves them in default of their lease as Capelli Sports Stadium operators. They later including a February 28 deadline for the Workins to vacate the stadium. In November, they called for more support from the City of Rochester and Monroe County to keep the Rochesters in operation. Both city and county governments denied extra aid and said they fulfilled the requirements to the team. They also called on for more season ticket purchases by fans and more corporate sponsorships from local businesses to keep them operational. Fan and corporate support fell short of the owner's goals at a November deadline. Rhinos co-owner also confirmed the news and sent the following statement. We, as well as USL, we believe we have met and continue to meet our obligations under the lease. We will be responding to the City of Rochester via our attorneys, as this is now a legal matter. Who do I believe? What's going to happen? I mean, this is a storied, like I said in the last episode, this is a storied team. This was the Rochester Rhinos. Some of it says Rochester is not a good market for soccer. They have been going downhill for a long time. Yeah, but it's just sad how, I guess you can say a storied franchise for the fact that they were the last non-MLS team to win the U.S. Open Cup. During MLS, the tenure that MLS has been alive for, they're the only non-MLS team that has won the U.S. Open Cup. But I mean, if you don't have enough of a fan base, there's only so much you can do. It's still sad seeing any team go down, and that's exactly what I want to avoid with the Toros, because attendance has not been great. I don't care what the Toros say. I don't care what front office say that, oh, we're close to solding out. No, we're not. Who are you trying to kid? We need to do better in trying to get the fans into the seats. And I feel Gerson Echeverry is the right man for the job. At least that's my first impression of him. Hopefully, he can walk the talk. The next news that I want to talk about. So, Las Vegas Lights FC announced 2 new signings this week. They announced the signings of Joel Wiki and also we have Edgar Gerardo Lugo as well. Those 2 players are ex Liga MX players. I know Joel Wiki at the time. This time he was playing for the Ascenso MX. I believe it was with Potros, Universidad Autónoma del Estado de México. Edgar Gerardo Lugo, last I heard, was in, I think he was in Veracruz, if I'm not mistaken. No, he's actually in Querétaro. So he's in Querétaro right now. And so when the team actually fields, see, that's an interesting question. I'm probably going to have to ask Carson. Carson, if you're listening to this, or if you're watching live, is Gerardo Lugo going to be available as soon as the USL season starts, or will he be coming in later on? It will be pretty interesting to see that. So that's pretty much it. Joel Wiki he's past his prime now. If anything, he'll probably just add a little bit of experience, for the young guys, as well as to fill in some seats with Mexican fans. Gerardo Lugo, I think he's got more to offer. He is age 33, but he's a winger. He played well with Tigres. He has the Copa Libertadores experience, like I told Carson. It's just Joel Wiki. It's just so much sarcasm when it comes to Wiki. He's always been average, or he's been an average player, and that's about it. Does he really deserve the call-ups to the national team? Maybe not. But he did his job with Morelia and Cruz Azul. He got the job done, but that's about it. One that really hurts me right now. San Antonio FC signs up Mission Texas native Mickey Lopez. And the news went viral in the USL. Like, viral. Everybody was talking about it. Oh, like, Mickey Lopez is going to be with San Antonio. Oh, that's excellent. Yeah, the San Antonio fans were all glad, yada, 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 yada. I really wanted him on the Toros. What better than having a young guy, from the Valley to playing for the team that represents his hometown, it represents his home region, especially a guy that has MLS experience like Mickey Lopez, because he's got the talent. But thanks to the relationship between New York City FC and San Antonio FC, they were able to get this really talented player, really talented midfielder in their ranks. Well, you can't win them all, I guess. And last but not least, we have our first team for USL D3, which is going to be Tormenta FC in South Georgia. So they currently play in the USL PDL, but they will be moving for 2019. They will be moving on to USL D3. It was announced this week, so will be pretty interesting to see. They also did mention, I think they mentioned in the last couple of days, that although in the beginning the USL D3 might not have uh, pro rel between D2 and D3 right away, they were actually talking about that. So there is still the possibility for that to happen. It's just not 100% sure yet. But that's pretty much it for this season, or this episode of Down in the Valley. Oh! Before I forget, I did actually have a small short interview with Alejandro Fuenmayor. Go ahead and check out my article in downintheRGV.com. I'll go ahead and post the link in a little bit. Actually, I have it up there. Go to downintheRGV.com. Go to the articles. Let me actually put a. Ooh, excuse me. Go to downintheRGV.com and then you'll go to articles. In the homepage, obviously, you will find the latest podcast live, as well as the recorded version that will be rendered later on. When you go to media and then you click on articles, you will have all the articles there, and even the ones that I had when I was still La Carga Naranja. But you also have the article about the 10 players that we signed, as well as the article with Alejandro Fuenmayor in both English and Spanish. So be sure to check it out. Go ahead, leave a comment, leave a like, share it with your friends. It was the first experience for me it was my first formal interview, you can say, with a professional soccer player. So I'm glad that this opportunity was given to me, and hope to bring more of that in the next couple of episodes. And hopefully get some done for RGV as well. So in the meantime, like I said, visit downintheRGV.com. Right there, the link's right over there. Share this video, give this video a like, and hope to see you next Wednesday for Down in the Valley. Don't forget, I will be giving out tickets, 2 tickets to that game. So hope you enjoyed this episode. I know it was kind of unorthodox how it all went through with these changes in the microphone and things like that. So thanks. So we'll hopefully go be back to normal next week. And hope to see y'all. If you're watching this and you're from the Valley, I hope to see y'all there at HEB Park on Saturday at 6 p.m. for RGVFC versus the Dynamo. So hope y'all have an awesome weekend, and I'll see you next time. Bye. And by the way, Tigres is winning 2-1 against Pachuca.